And these two grow up to become young women. Now, on the one side, you have a woman who grows up and she becomes an alcoholic. She gets in abusive relationships. She doesn't love herself. She can't hold down a consistent, steady form of income. She is constantly in a self-sabotage loop. She's unhappy. She's depressed. She's miserable. And her sister, twin sister, grows up and she becomes president of the PTA, entrepreneur, very wildly successful businesswoman, married to her soulmate, having a beautiful relationship, just living the life of her dreams. And the crazy thing is, when you ask these two little girls that are now grown women, hey, wow, looking at your life, why did you turn out the way you turned out? And what answer will they both give you?
If you grew up like I did,
it's the way I grew up. All right. So one girl is going to say, well, I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic, so I'm an alcoholic. I witnessed terrible relationships, so I don't know how to have a healthy relationship. So I'm in bad relationships because that's what was modeled for me. And I can't take care of myself because nobody took care of me and I didn't know what to do and I didn't have anybody telling me. So that's why I'm here. And that's a legitimate story. You would believe that as a spouse or partner of an addict or an alcoholic and go, yeah, those bastards, they did you wrong. And no wonder you're here. And then what happens is you start to develop a sense of toxic compassion. And toxic compassion is empathy gone overboard. It's when you feel so much for a person's situation that you no longer hold their feet to the fire for change, but you stay in the blame cycle with them so that they rationalize and justify their continual use over time. All right.
And then another fear shows up. It's like, well, I don't want to traumatize them more now. And you become like sucked into another level of drama that is like, again, because you're such a great person, you have a heart, you don't want to sort of go down that path.
And then the other path is the other sister, the twin who grows up and she becomes, the one that's like super high achiever, really successful, firing on all cylinders. And you ask her why she turned out the way she turned out. She'll say the same thing. She'll say the way I grew up. But what she'll say is my dad was an alcoholic, so I don't drink. My mom was mean to me and hurt me and unstable. So I created this stability. I vowed I was never going to be like that with my kids. My parents, they didn't treat me well and never showed me how to take care of myself. So I had to learn. I had to figure it all out. And so we can believe that story too, can't we? Which story is more true? The story of addiction or the story of achievement? Well, neither one's more true. What the reality is trauma doesn't create addiction. The coping mechanism to the trauma creates the addiction. And one coped with her trauma through addiction. And one coped with her trauma through achievement and through success. And so I know a lot of people, look at a family of alcoholics, look at a family that is so dysfunctional and we all know them, right? I was one of them. Now you know me. So you know me. A family that's super dysfunctional, you'll see not all kids took the same path. Not all people went down the same road. So what do you say to somebody when they say, if I'm calling out my partner and not calling him out, but we're going down the trauma road, memory lane, and he starts telling me about all the reasons, I'll give you maybe a not good response and how you guys stay stuck in this loop as a couple, and then maybe a better response so that you can know how to handle this moving forward when they go down the pity pot and I don't want to sound like I don't have compassion. I do. I just know why they're in the situation they're in isn't because those bad things happened. It's because of how they manage those bad things that happened. Okay, when they reoccur in their minds.
Well, and having compassion isn't buying their story.
Well, I buy their story.
Right.
And okay, what else? So tell me why you're using and drinking and acting.
Well, because I was beaten. My dad beat the crap out of me, and then he would just, not only was he physically abusive, he's verbally abusive, and no one would come help me, and then I was just all alone, and then it didn't matter which way I turned. It just kept happening. And
now I know, I'm listening to my husband. He's telling me the story. I'm like, why'd you drink last night? You were doing so good. And then all of a sudden you blew it. Why did you do that? You promised me that you weren't going to drink anymore. You said that you weren't going to do it. Why did you do it?
Because I was watching that movie and it just triggered me.
What triggered you?
Triggered. There was a movie about a father and son, and they had, the father was beating the kid, reminded me of me getting beaten, and I freaked out, and I had to.
Okay. Now see what happens here. That makes a little sense. All right. So me as a wife, if I, I'm still trying to hang on and fix this scenario or fix my husband or whatever, I get a little shot of dopamine because I'm like, oh, he knows why he's drinking. Ding, 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 ding. Right. I'm like, oh, I get excited, a little shot of dopamine. I'm like, oh, we can go. Now I want to play therapist. Put on my therapist hat and I'm going to get in there and I'd be like, so what else? So what happened when you saw, that movie? Were you just feeling really upset?
Yeah, I got all, like hurt. I just really started seeing the images of and feeling the beating. So I had
Oh
to
my
like
God. Well,
I just
next
freaked
time, can
out.
you just come to me? Like when that happens, why can't you just come to me and tell me? I mean, I love you. I'm here to support you. If you're feeling like you want to drink, you just have to tell me that so that
Well,
I
because
can
I
help
yeah,
you. And
that
can you
wasn't
do
as
that next time? Because
uh
I mean, maybe we shouldn't watch those movies. What movie was that on? What channel was that on?
well, yeah, it
Was that
was
was that
dad beats the
HBO?
kid.
Well, because I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do. You can't stay in this acting role because it's too painful for you. You have to make fun of it. Okay, so, but I, as the wife, and now I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna delete that channel. We're never gonna watch it. So I get sucked down the rabbit hole, and I'm
And
like,
think that that's going to help.
and I think I'm helping. I'm like, oh yeah, good. Let's talk about it. Like, yeah, tell me more. Listen, somebody gets into their trauma, you're re-traumatizing them. Number one, okay, we're not their therapist, and number two, you can't get clean and you can't get dry under a waterfall. So he's telling the trauma, and then now he's drinking, and then I say, "Why'd you drink today?" I guarantee you, why'd you drink today?
Well, because after talking about it, I just went right through it again, and then I couldn't get out of my head.
So now I'm the reason because I made him tell me about the trauma. Do you see how you get sucked in? And it's easy to do. It is not your fault. Now, look, here's another little commercial break. If you're feeling like this is textbook for you, oh my God, they have my number. Oh my God, I had this conversation last week. We know.